of the Muto species, what do you think about? Maybe them getting destroyed by Godzilla? Well, today we're gonna be seeing their entire life cycle from beginning to end by Goji Center. I'll throw them up on the screen right now so you can see them. Now let's go ahead and check out the Muto life cycle. I'm excited for this one.
You'll learn that
you guys were wanting to see this.
Is not easy.
It's definitely not easy,
born
bro.
into this species
Not easy.
means that you'll probably have a less than 1% chance of making it out alive. And
Less
even
than 1%?
after you survive, you'll probably be condemned to suffer a horrible death.
By Godzilla,
in the Monsterverse, perhaps the most invasive species in any biome would be the Mutos.
I mean,
As a
Muto's definitely
result,
strong
being
against like
born
people
into
and
the
stuff.
society of
Easy.
death would mean that you're hardwired to destroy,
But
kill,
Godzilla?
and repeat. Which
Not
means
happening.
that you'll make a lot of
Look at that
enemies
foot.
throughout your lifetime.
That's a big
Things that
foot.
would want to kill you even from birth.
If you
so
haven't
to
yet,
better
guys,
understand
scroll
your
down for me,
arduous
hit that
time on
subscribe
Earth,
button.
Let us introduce you to the Muto life cycle.
Here we go, the
In this
Muto life
journey,
cycle.
you can either be born a male Muto or
Male
a
or
female
female.
Muto.
Yep.
If you are unfortunate to
Males
be born
can
a
fly.
male Muto, then you'll soon
Unfortunate?
find out that your time on Earth will probably be short.
Huh.
On the contrary, being born a female Muto
I would think you would
opens
want to be the male
possibility
because you can
for
fly
to
away,
increase
right?
rank and potentially turn into one of the most powerful titans on the planet.
Prime
Your
Muto.
chances of making it
Muto
this far
Prime, whatever.
are very
Yeah, Muto
low.
Prime.
But to begin, let us introduce you
Female
to
to
the Muto
queen
Prime.
to Muto Prime.
Stage 1, the first generation.
Okay,
All
here we
Muto
go.
life cycles begin with this titan, Muto Prime or Titanus Jinshin Mushi.
Oh, I
this
didn't
is
know
the
that was
most
his name,
powerful
Jinshin
iteration of all
Mushi.
Muto specimens. If you're
like
lucky
that.
and born into the right gender, you may just become one of these.
Savage.
Small chance. Perhaps the most important thing to note about these
We
Muto
haven't seen a
Prime
Muto Prime in a
specimens,
movie,
or
right?
all
Have
Muto
we?
types is that they evolved over millions of
I don't
years to
remember.
counter a certain type of titan, Gojiras. But not only
Good
that,
old Godzilla.
these Mutos evolved to use these as breeding incubators. That's right.
Excuse me?
Muto Prime specimens will jumpstart the life cycle after they successfully defeat a Gojira specimen, subjugating it and implanting 2 eggs with its ovipositors. These are tipped
Yo.
with sensors that search for atomic-rich body organs,
That's crazy.
searching for the best place to implant the eggs. This
Oh, so this is in the
Gojira
comics
isn't
where they
dead
just kill
yet,
Godzillas.
but it will stay alive until these things absorb all of its atomic energy, leading us to Stage 2,
That's
spore
crazy.
maturity. So, while our
What
host
happens
is
in
literally
this one?
suffering a slow, excruciating death, these 2
That's
Muto
horrible.
offspring are enjoying a plethora of nourishment necessary to hatch. Eventually, this host, which in this case happens to be a Gojira, will eventually succumb to this energy depletion, slowly fading
That
away
is so
as
crazy.
these 2 spores absorb what remains of the radiation found within this
So
Gojira.
he got defeated,
After
got
these
killed,
things are ready,
and had to
the
grow
male
some
Muto
babies?
will hatch first. Why? Well, if we compare
Gosh.
both adult male and female Mutos, we'll notice
Very-
that there
yeah,
is some
size
clear
difference is
sexual
huge.
dimorphism between the 2. One has wings and one doesn't, meaning that the male Muto
Male
in
Muto's
this case
fast with
must
it,
go
though.
through some form of metamorphosis before it develops its wings. We aren't sure what its larval state looks like, but we do know that as soon as this
That's
male
kinda cool. Kinda
hatches,
looks like
its
a
larval
Mothra.
form will immediately
Like the
seek
Mothra
sources of
larva?
atomic energy and then return to a cocoon state to further develop. Meanwhile,
I
the
need to watch the
female will
Godzilla movies
continue
again,
to
man.
develop in its encasing,
I love those
waiting
movies.
for the male to develop wings.
They're so
How do we
crazy.
know this? Back in the film Godzilla, we witnessed how just one of these Mutos hatched. The spore containing the female was then transported to Nevada, where it matured to its adult form inside a
Hmm. I don't know why they
huge
would let it
waste
do that.
depository.
Just blow that thing up.
Stage 3, the hatching.
The hatching.
The time has now come for this Muto pair to reveal themselves and wreak havoc.
Why would
After
you
the
ever
male
let that
Muto
grow?
hatches, it will emit pulses that are picked up by its female counterpart, signaling that he's now ready for business.
Ready
How do
for
these
business?
2 automatically know what to do as soon as they're born? Well, again, the
They're just
entire
smart like
Muto
that, I guess. I don't-
classification is hardwired to behave a certain way. Literally everything they do is
What
led by
makes
an
Muto
instinctive
Prime have
compass
those
with
orange
only
arms?
one
Does anybody know what that even is?
terraforming the Earth to their liking. These 2 are the ones responsible for making sure this happens. The first step in this entire process has already been done. They're successfully hatched. And now
They
the
are
next
hatched.
step is making sure they find each other. Stage 4, mating. In order to begin the mating
So I
process,
guess you gotta
the
kill
male
the
has to
Godzilla
first
too, right?
seek out the female Muto. But is Mr.
I guess
Muto gonna
find a
pull up to
nuclear
the female
spot
empty-handed?
to put the eggs?
Absolutely not. This guy will come bearing gifts.
Bro, look
That's
at female
right.
Muto.
It is no
She
coincidence
is
that
huge.
this male Muto is given wings during its development. This guy's role in bringing forth the next generation of Mutos is to effectively find the female as quickly as possible. But not
makes
only
sense.
that, he's also tasked with rapidly finding radioactive materials in order to feed their offspring. This shows
just
the female that
eating
he's up to
nuclear
the
energy.
task of
That's
keeping
crazy.
her and the little ones fed.
That is crazy.
Once the female receives the first dose of radiation from the male Muto, they will proceed to find a suitable place to nest. It is
To
here where
nest?
they
What is
will
it, a
begin the
cave?
terraforming of this planet. But how exactly will this be done? And what creatures carry about this act of
just
destruction?
sleep. What's the next stage, though?
The
Stage 5.
terraformation of Earth. If you've been paying
Terraformation.
attention, you'll realize
Oh,
that
I've been
during
paying
the events
attention.
of 2014,
That's the
these
one I was
two
referring to
Mutos
earlier,
never made
getting
it past
destroyed.
Stage 4. From now on, we will discuss what would have happened if Godzilla perished at the hands of this Muto pair and contributed to the nourishment of this next generation of Mutos.
It would have been over.
Keep in mind
It
that
would have been
this
over.
female can carry hundreds of these smaller Mutos.
So that's
Once
what that
setting
is.
up
I've been
her
seeing
nest,
that in
the
the
parents will be
Kaiju
tasked
Universe
with
game.
providing
Those are
constant
eggs.
sources of
I
radiation
thought that's what
for
that
their
was.
offspring.
I just
Whether it
wasn't
comes
sure.
in the form of nuclear warheads or a dead Titan. The best Titan
dead
to absorb
Titan.
radiation from would have been a Godzilla. Again, we have to bring up the fact that all Mutos had certain adaptations that helped them counter Gojiras.
True.
One ability in particular, known as the EMP, would be used to snuff out some of the destructive effects of a Gojira atomic breath. Additionally, this Muto pair was equipped with an
Savage.
exoskeleton
Savage
that
breath.
could more or less show some resistance towards the already weakened atomic breath.
Some
and
resistance,
very
not
sharp,
a lot, though.
pointy-tipped limbs that could pierce a Gojira's thick hide. But what about the offspring? Will they look
The babies.
identical to their parents? This
Why
is
wouldn't you just
actually
hit the
an
babies?
unknown fact about the
With the
Mutos,
atomic breath.
but we'd like to guess that they'll look
I know
somewhat
that's horrible
similar
to
to
say,
their
but
parents
it's a
and
Muto.
around the same size.
Finish 'em off.
It is also unclear whether or not these so-called subspecies could breed amongst themselves, although
What?
there are depictions of both male and females making up the ranks of this new generation.
That's crazy.
Once these hatch and mature, their hardwired task will be to travel throughout the continent, destroying everything in their path and killing any inhabitants
Trying to
that get
take
in the
over
way.
the world.
But
Not on
being
Godzilla's
born into
watch,
this
baby.
generation of Mutos will turn out to be the ultimate nightmare.
That is a
Stage
nightmare, for
6,
sure.
Civil War.
Civil War.
Immediately after the Earth is terraformed into what the Mutos now consider
Gonna have
a
to go to war.
perfect world,
Gotta get it back.
There's one final step in completing the full circle, bringing forth the next Muto Prime. This isn't
True
a
that.
democracy where everyone
boy,
votes for
girl.
the next queen, or monarchy
Queen.
where there is already a set leader. No, this is now a fight to the death. Every
Oh,
Muto
yeah.
for itself,
Love that.
with one winner, one Muto Prime.
Every Muto fight
Admittedly,
each
all
other?
we know about this
That's
stage
goofy.
is from a theory developed by Dr. Emma Russell, which suggests that at some point, all existing Mutos will eventually turn on each other.
Why would they
until
do
the
that? They would take
strongest
over the world if they
specimens
didn't.
Remain, with one female eventually taking hold of the title of Muto
Oh my.
Prime.
That
but
thing is
there
scary.
is one little loophole in this theory. If all female Mutos have to kill each other, where did this one come from?
True,
In the
right?
MonsterVerse timeline,
Queen
this
Muto.
particular Titan, also known as a Queen Muto, showed up after Godzilla killed the last remaining Muto Prime. So
How
where
in the
do
world
these
did that
fit
happen?
into the Muto life cycle?
Maybe it
And
was an
why do they
egg
look
somewhere
different
hidden.
from the regular female Muto? It was mentioned by Michael Doherty that this Queen Muto's ridges are more or less like status symbols. Actions such as winning in combat
Status
or completing
symbols.
mating rituals may have triggered the development of these ridges, which
Huh.
makes us believe that these could only be attained by the generations of Mutos that were directly birthed by the Muto Prime.
This is
But
an
that's
in-depth
just a
analysis,
theory.
bro. Just a
this
theory.
particular
I like it,
Muto
though.
probably survived this said
a
civil
good
war
theory.
between all female Mutos, but was not active or strong enough to morph into the next Muto Prime.
It wasn't
leaving
strong
that to
enough,
another
really?
female who successfully fended off the rest. And
Oh,
finally,
that was-
we need to discuss what happened
Imagine
to
being
the
the
rest
last
of these
one,
dudes.
but you're not
the
strong
males.
enough to get
Another theory
prime
is
Muto
that
status,
after they
Muto
complete
Prime
their
status.
paternal duties, the
That's
females
crazy.
would then proceed to devour the male specimens, similar to real-life mantises. After they successfully breed, the female will then proceed to kill and eat the male partner.
Huh?
This might explain why there aren't any males left during this stage of the Muto cycle. After there is only one or a few female
that's kinda
Mutos
crazy.
left, only one will have the privilege to evolve into the next Muto Prime.
Oh my goodness.
Stage 7, Titanus Jinshin Mushi.
Here comes
The cycle
Prime
reaches
Muto,
full
Muto Prime.
circle at this stage.
Whatever.
After a long series of bloody battles with other female Mutos, this particular female's body begins to enter a state of dormancy and likely develops another cocoon.
Another
Her
cocoon?
wounds will now begin to heal, and her limbs will morph into thicker
So what's
and
the
more
orange arms?
powerful weapons.
That's what I wanna
Her
know.
armor will become more scaly.
Is it just armor?
Razor-sharp spikes will develop along her spine, and she now will be equipped with ovipositors with tips strong enough to pierce thick Gojira hides.
I remember those.
After some time, this animal will now hatch for the last time. This is now a Muto Prime. There's a catch to
Savage.
this, however.
Savage.
There can only be one of these lurking about, meaning that if this Muto successfully triggers the next life cycle and only one female subspecimen remained, this female wouldn't be able to turn into a Muto Prime until this one died. So back
so
to
it can
this
only
Muto.
be one of them.
Why
Imagine
didn't
if there
this
could be
particular queen
100.
turn into the next Muto
That would be
Prime
it for the world.
after Godzilla killed the current one? We aren't very sure about this one, but here's some plausible reasons.
Let's just take a guess.
Maybe there was another Queen Muto somewhere else on the planet, and she turned into the next Prime. Or 2, perhaps her body was simply not capable of morphing into the next stage. Maybe it tried, but went through something called pupation failure. This can be caused by several reasons, such as genetic abnormalities,
She just wasn't
injuries
strong
to
enough.
critical organs, malnutrition, etc.
She was getting
In the real
destroyed,
world,
bro.
this sometimes actually happens to some caterpillars, and sadly, they never get to turn into moths or butterflies.
I just hated to hear
As
that.
we
Now
can
I'm
see,
sad.
apart from
I
being
don't wanna
the
see a
best fighter
caterpillar
to
sad,
become a
bro.
Muto Prime, you also have to be really careful. If not, then you'll never get to develop into the next Muto Prime, even if you're the last one standing.
Well, that's not
Maybe
fun.
that's why there
That's not
isn't
fun.
another Muto Prime lurking about. At least that we know of. Do you think there is another one out there that Godzilla will encounter in the future?
Ladies and gentlemen, let me know the answer to that question. Do you think there's another Muto Prime out there somewhere? Maybe it's in the next movie. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching with me. I love ya. Goodbye.